PTA website, and there's an area for development and resources under there. I think that there was a keeping slide, the immediate past president. She's here hosting with me, and we're just going to put the housekeeping slide up for you one more time because there are people on the call who weren't on when we first started. So as I mentioned, the workshop's being recorded. You're going to find it on nyspta.org, and then just go to the leaders drop down and you will be able to navigate to it. Presently, all of our participants are muted. So that we don't have any background noise. And I'm going to ask that if you help the presentation, we'll go through the questions and answer those that may not have been answered during the presentation itself. And finally, I think what we'd like to try to do, I hope that everybody can see the spot to either click for yes or no for an answer if there's something that we want to have people participate in. If you don't see that, you can use your chat bar, and you'll be able to input your response to a question. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen here. I'm going to hope to share my screen. PowerPoint. And we are going to begin. And so you're all here today. I hope we're going to begin. We are all here today to learn about building a successful team. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself and how I hope to be able to help you with your PTAs. I'd like to ask if you could put in the chat box what role you have in your PTA. So if you're a president, please type in president. If you're a vice president, if you are a chair, or if you're just a PTA member who's here, of what roles individuals have in their PTAs. And hopefully what we're presenting to you today will be able to help you. Many presidents typing in. So in a lot of different trainings through different experience at level, region level, to becoming state president. And in all of those experiences, I had the opportunity to work with different types of teams. So the first thing we're going to take a look at is, let's see, how do we get this to advance? Here we go. What is a team? So a team is considered to be a group of people working together to accomplish a shared objective. And if we put that in the mind, our teams can be either committee members, they can be our board members, they can be our executive committee members, and they can be our membership. So there's just a few examples of different types of teams we would be working with in PTA. And so we always want to keep our PTA mission in mind with whatever kind of work we are doing as PTA, whether it is facilitating a PARP program or doing some advocacy work. We're always keeping the PTA mission in mind. And so I'd like to take just a couple of minutes to talk about why it's important to have a team. So if you think about it, there is a lot of work to do in PTA, and that work cannot be accomplished by just one person. And if one person was doing all the work or driving everything in the PTA, you would just be using one particular mindset, right? It would just be your own opinion. So working with other people gives you the opportunity to make the workload itself easier, right? Many hands make light work, but also offers the opportunity for a variety of viewpoints and ideas to be brought to the table. So I have two questions here. We'll see if we can make this work. If you could just take a minute to think about a group that you worked with and think about what worked well with the group. So if you can first just quickly, type in the chat, what worked well about your group? And we'll take a minute or less than a minute, to have some answers come into the chat. And I certainly can reflect on quite a few groups that I worked with, committees that I worked with, that were very effective. And so I see somebody typing in communication. When we clearly and openly communicated, we were honest and open with each other and listened well. So in my viewpoint, communication is probably one of the key ingredients to success in your team. Oh, they're really coming in now. Okay, so let's see what we have here. Whoop. Communication, everyone cared more about the bigger group goal than about personal goals. We had a common goal. Go back to that slide. Commitment, having a common goal and listening to all involved. So that's the great thing about working with PTA. We all want to see what is in the best interest of children when we're working together. And along that path that we travel together, a lot of the time we form friendships with people that we're working with. So having that common goal of doing what is in the best interest of your own child and, in the bigger picture, all of the children in the community that you're working with, help you to work more effectively. And now let's take a minute to look at what didn't work so well with a group. So if you can think about that. And I'll just, start you off with an example of somebody not fulfilling their responsibility. You have tasks that people on a committee or on a board have to complete, and somebody doesn't do what their piece of the project was. So that's something that might not work well. And here we go, no follow through. Difficult personalities. Micromanaging, that's a big one. When someone did not follow through on their part but didn't reach out for help. Again, that goes back to communication, right? When one person tries to run everything and do everything without accepting input from the rest of the team and turning into the martyr, lack of communication. So those are some very good examples of things that can happen when the group doesn't work well. And I'm sure that you've heard it before, but people say there is no I in group of people, it's not just about me. So if we can move to our next slide, some of the things that strong teams will do will be communicate regularly. And so comments that came in earlier talked about communication being key. And so you need to have some expectations that people are going to stay in touch with each other. Whoever's in the leadership role will be sharing information and looking for feedback. So whether you are in the lead or you are part of the team, there should be two-way communication going on with everybody in a regular fashion. If you don't hear from your group for a while, an event coming up, it can lead to failure because you may have tasks that finish, or there can be a misunderstanding that the other person was to do something. So community came up a few times about people who micromanage. That is extremely, an extremely detrimental effect when somebody is a micromanager, because typically people that come in and are part of a committee or are on your board are learning. And so if they don't have the opportunity to actually do, they're going to become discouraged, and they're not going to enhance their own leadership ability, gaining the confidence to move into another position down the road. Planning is very important. That would be part of your meeting work. that you sit down and come up with what your goal is, and then how are you going to get yourself to your goal. So that would be your plan. Giving feedback, that's important. Um, when you have completed something, or even along the way, it's important to take a look at what have you done, what's worked, what's not worked, and sharing in a constructive way. You wouldn't want to be insulting an individual, but sharing positive feedback with people so that your um, experience the next time will be even better. And then finally, you should be celebrating one another. And I think that that's something that we don't do often enough. We find it easy to be critical, but we don't always take those opportunities to celebrate each other and the success of what we do as a PTA team together. So when you take a look at what would lead to a dysfunction, what are some of the characteristics of a dysfunctional team, you're going to look at the opposite of the good things that we just talked about. So again, communication is right up at the top of that list. If you're not communicating, there's just a complete breakdown and you're not going to be successful. People who are petty or act in a certain way and act more personal than for the good of the group, that is something that is detrimental to the team. Playing by the same rules. Everybody's expected to do something by a certain point in time. Everybody's expected to submit a report for your board meeting, let's say, by a certain day so that the whole group has the opportunity to read. Some people do it, some people don't. So what happens then? You cannot be as successful as you possibly could be. Lacking of insight and lacking that shared goal or focus. And that's the really great thing about being a part of the PTA, because we have a very specific mission. And so everything that we do should be focused on is going to make the educational experience for children a better experience, or the best experience that it can be. And it goes beyond, the educational component of it. There's the social aspect and so forth. So we want their total school experience to be as positive as possible. And so if your team is not focusing on that goal, or maybe they're just thinking about how they are the star of the show, it leads to dysfunction. Okay. Great teams, what they're going to do is they embrace all of the people that are a part of their group. They don't leave people out because there's something different about them. And honestly, by capitalizing on all of those different styles, you're going to be much stronger for that. And so, it takes some time as a leader to grow in your own self-confidence and to be open to allowing other people and other opinions and other styles to all come together and participate as fully as possible. So that's something that you have to work on as an individual. There's so many different components to this. Your own personal growth, but then the growth of the people you are working with. Establishing norms, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later on, what the expectations are. Again, assessing and evaluating how things work. If you're not willing to to take a good look and not be afraid of saying what went wrong or how we could improve something, then you won't be successful. But if you're willing to do that, then you're going to have a great event, a great program, and you will continually have your PTA growing. And so also embracing that definition of success is very important. So those are things that you're going to look to celebrate as PTA, right? We're going to take a look at the different types of people who will be part of your team. So I think that a lot of the people who are participating, I know we have some people who are on region boards, but a lot of you are in your units. And so you're going to look at the different types of people who are part of your team. So if you're looking at it from a unit standpoint, you have people who might be committee members, but they're not a chair. And so these people are your participants. Then you have people who are your committee chairs, and they are people who will take on responsibility. They're going to be responsible and show up to your activities, and they're going to look to you as the leader for some direction and some guidance. And so as a leader, we have another workshop later on about mentoring, it is your responsibility to help grow these people into their own leadership roles so that your PTA will continue. And then the role of the person who is the leader, you're coordinating, you're not doing it, you're coordinating the work, the activity of the team. You're going to communicate regularly with everybody. And very importantly, you're going to delegate responsibility. If we go back to somebody who commented in our chat previously about micromanaging, and you don't delegate responsibility to other people, eventually they're going to say, why am I bothering to donate my time here? My time is very precious to me. I'll go someplace else where I'll be appreciated. And so it's important to always keep that in mind, that you want to delegate responsibility. And that goes with your executive committee. So that's all of your officers. Make sure that those people have different opportunities to be responsible for other people on the team, so that they, because we don't stay in that role forever, right? We move up. Okay, so now to move to the next slide. My computer seems frozen. Let's see. Oh boy. All right, we'll let it settle for a second, and hopefully it goes on. I'm going to talk to you about what's on the next slide, and hopefully this advances and you're not going to see this for the rest of the presentation. Are you still seeing it? Yeah. And you're seeing the roles on the team slide? Yeah. But let me see if I can hear you, because I can see off so we can get it. Okay, we're going to just check to see if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
You can hear me. Okay. And you can. Okay, great. Somebody said they could hear me. Thank you. So it looks like the slide's not advancing, but fortunately I was prepared and I printed out my slides, so I know exactly what I'm supposed to be talking about. But the next thing that I was going to talk about. I hear somebody speaking.
Yeah, sorry. I said if you just hit escape and then restart the slide sharing, it might start back again.
Go back in? Okay, let's see what happens. Now the computer is frozen. You know what? Let me try to stop sharing it and see what happens. Hopefully we get it back. Okay. Hi, everybody. Oh my goodness, I see a lot of faces I know out there. It's good to see you. Okay, here we go. Let's try it again. Screen share. Back into my PowerPoint. Where'd it go? Here we go. And see if I can move it to the next slide. Oh, there we go. Thank you for that idea. See, teamwork. It makes the dream work. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about why assigning roles on a team. And there are different, you know, based on whether you are the leader or you are the member, there's an outcome to it. So if you're the leader, you want to make sure that everyone, you're going to make sure that people are held accountable. You're going to make sure, or actually you're not making sure, part of assigning the role to a person is that they then buy into whatever it is that you're looking to do. So let's pretend we're talking about the reflections program, because I see Elena out there. And assigning people responsibilities of the reflection committee lets them feel like they want to be a part of it. They're going to want to do their work, right? They're going to want to do a good job. And by assigning them, you're giving the people the ability to show what they can do, right? If you're on the team and you've been assigned a role, then you're going to be able to make a contribution and people are going to be able to see that you have contributed. Additionally, by having different people, you're going to have a diversity in what the committee does. It's not just going to be straightforward. You're going to have different ideas coming to different people. And by allowing someone to do or to bring to the table what their talent is, it gives the ability to show that off. And the other thing by assigning the role is that a person knows exactly what's expected of you. So typically with a committee, you probably have some sort of procedure book. Hopefully not. That's something you might want to work on. And people would get information and then they know exactly what has to be done. Maybe there's a timeline in there. So by having a role and having an assignment, you'll be able to know exactly how you're going to contribute to whatever it is that you're doing. And by engaging is to always grow our leadership, right? We don't want to stagnate people, and we want to see the association. And I'm talking about from a state level when I say the association. We need to keep the association moving forward. And so next year, I think it's next year, we're going to be celebrating the 125th anniversary of New York State PTA as being chartered. And if through the year and brought new people into the PTA family, allow them to develop as leaders and help them along the way in developing and enhancing their leadership skills, at some point, the PTA would have died out, right? And we do see that happen sometimes in units, where a unit will wind up being dissolved because the pool of people got smaller and smaller. And sometimes it is through no fault of their own. There are some situations that are beyond their control and a PTA is dissolved. But in a lot of situations, when a PTA is not thriving, it's because you have the same people who have monopolized everything, and they just kind of recycle the same people around and around, and they don't develop new leaders. They're kind of, I would say they're selfish when they do that. And so you as an individual, if this organization is an organization that you are very passionate about, what you would be looking to do after you finished in your unit, you might become active in your council, and from your council you might be interested in going to your region, and for region you would come up to the state. And there are many people that I know, I see a few faces out there that moved up that ladder. Important to always make those opportunities available to volunteers. And so I realize we are in change times, and maybe we do things a little bit differently, especially in the upcoming months, but you still have to make those opportunities available for people. And so I'm going to move in a little bit on to different types of people that you're going to be dealing with. And these different personality types, I'm sure everybody's heard of the Myers-Briggs personality assessment. It's actually a personality test. So there are 16 different personality types that they identified. And there, you can actually go online, and if you have never taken one of these tests before for yourself, you can go ahead and take the test. But this is a list of the different personality types there are. And some of them, the titles themselves are very, you know exactly what it means. And you may or may not think of yourself as having some of these different personality types. A little bit of a description of them quickly. So a healer is somebody who's imaginative and idealist, and they're guided by their own core values and beliefs. A mastermind is somebody who is an analytical problem solver. The counselor is somebody who's a creative nurturer with a strong sense of personal integrity and a drive to help others realize their potential. The architect is a philosophical innovator, fascinated by logical analysis, systems, and design. The champion is people-centered, and they have a focus on possibilities, and they have a contagious enthusiasm for new ideas. The commander, just that name alone, is a strategic leader somebody who's motivated to organize change. A visionary is somebody who's inspired and they're motivated to find new solutions to intellectually challenging problems. The teacher, an idealist organizer driven to implement their vision of what is best for humanity. The protector is an industrious caretaker loyal to traditions and organizations. The composer is a gentle caretaker who lives in the present moment and enjoys their surroundings. The inspector is somebody who's a responsible organizer. The craftsperson, observant artisans with an understanding of mechanics and an interest in troubleshooting. The provider is somebody who's conscientious helper and sensitive to the needs of others. The performer, vivacious entertainers who charm and engage those around them. And I'm sure you can think about some people that you work with in your PTA who are just like entertaining and fun people to be around. The supervisor is a hardworking traditionalist, eager to take charge in organizing projects and people. And then finally, the dynamo, energetic thrill seekers who are at their best when putting out fires. So you can think about yourself as an individual and the personality types that you possess, because we are sometimes a little bit of more than one of these, right? But you also have to start to think about the personality types of the people that you are working with, because that is going to have a very big impact on how people interact with each other. So there's then what's called personality typing. And so we have introversion and extroversion. And you can think about that for yourself. Sometimes you actually are a little bit of both of these. Someone that's more introverted prefers quiet time, and an extrovert is very busy and active. They're sensing and intuition, thinking and feeling, and judging and perceiving. And so the people that you're going to be working with are going to fall into all of these different types. Something that we've done here at the state PTA as an activity, sometimes at an orientation or at another time that we're gathered together, is we've done activities that sort of identify what our personalities are. And we've done the different colors. Are you blue, orange, red, and green, I think were our colors. And so that's actually an interesting activity that you might want to consider doing, especially as your PTA is gathering and being formed at, at the start of the school year. We still have opportunities, I think, in all around our state right now, that we can gather in some sort of groups. It might not be in your school building, but you could possibly have a gathering to sort of get everybody together and start that formation of your team. Because without building up your team, if everybody's just going to be isolated from each other, it's going to be a difficult year. But if you start that board bonding and team building, you're going to have a much, much better year. So the teams have these different personality styles: the thinker, the intuitor, the sensor, the feeler. And so if we take a look at the thinker, some of their characteristics might be that they are an effective communicator. They are stabilizing. They're objective. The person who's a thinker is logical, careful, objective, cool thinking under pressure, consistent, organized, and weighs out different alternatives. So you're going to need those people to be part of your team, right? Because they're going to help you to figure out and how to plan and how to sort of foresee, right? The next personality style, the intuitor. And this is a person who has innovation, they're creative, they're fast and deep thinker. They thrive in chaos. They question things, they're visionary, and they have a broad perspective. So these people are also important to your team. You want people who are going to be creative, right? I mean, you may have somebody who has a good message, but they don't know how to make it good. And that's where your creative people come these two different things up with something that is very appealing looking and has great information in it. So that's just a very basic example of having people working together and how it benefits your PTA. Your sensors are people who are doers. Your people who can anybody think about maybe you go? Oh, this is embarrassing. Can you see me now, Bob? But hi, all. Can you hear Grace? Says it's recording. I can't hear anything. No. You can hear Kyle now? Oh. Oh. I should have said that. How do I do that? I'm going to rename myself, first of all, so people don't think I'm Kyle. Yeah. Okay, so let me see if I'm sharing my screen again. You cannot minimize Zoom when you are recording. Okay. Huh. See that anymore. Sign in. Hang on, let me try. Okay, can you hear me? If you could just type in your chat box if you can hear me. Okay, you can hear me? Okay, hang on, because I think I'm logged back in again. Ooh, this is difficult. Okay, I'm sorry about this. Okay. So we were in the middle about talking about feelers, and that just made me feel very bad that that happens. Oh my goodness, it throws you off your game. Now I'm going to feel guilt-ridden when I leave here, thinking about how the presentation got cut off and we had to go back into it. But hopefully that won't happen again. Okay. I do miss seeing you all in person because there's something very different about interacting in a workshop with people while you're right there. So talking. So can you see me too? Can you? Okay. So let's think a little bit about
Unmute. Hi, guys. Thanks for bearing with us. We may shift Grace over here in a moment. I am not seeing your slide right now. Okay. Okay. Can you guys all hear me? I'm Bonnie. If a few of you can say yes or no, that'd be great. Hopefully you'll say yes. Great. She's going to head right over here, guys. So thanks for giving us a few minutes while she does that. We are not going to be able to show that video, so we do gain a little bit back time on that. So I don't know if she talked about it, but we're always PTA flexible. There we go. Okay.
So we're going to cue up the PowerPoint again. Now I'm on this side of the room. Okay. And to boot, I love having a mouse. I don't like using the little. No, it's okay. I think we'll, yeah, later. So where am I now? I don't see it. I just want to get to the toolbar to scroll down.
Where do you want to go?
I want to scroll down this line. Oh,
I have a touch screen.
okay.
Whereabouts were you?
Further.
Okay.
I'm up to here.
Okay. There you go.
Okay, and let's see, slideshow from, oh, let's do that. Current slide. And now I have to figure out how to share my screen. Let me escape it. Ah, I'm dragging it.
Click on Zoom. Yeah, click on Zoom.
Go
Back in
here.
the meeting.
And how do I share my screen now?
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, right here. Go back to share. Share screen. Where are you? This one. Trying to find you. Ah, here you are. Well, you may have to still find the slide you want, but at least it's there. I think you wanted that, right?
Oh my God, I hope you have a glass of wine or something with you. There you are. Okay, so this is interesting. Let's see, slideshow from current slide. I'm going to go up a slide. I'm not going to touch anything. That's what I'm going to do. Okay, so we're going to talk about how your styles are going to impact a couple of different things. The roles and responsibilities, communication needs, expectations. And so if you are an individual who is a good communicator, that's going to have an impact on your group because everybody's going to know what's going on at all times, right? But if you are an individual who is not a good communicator, then your group is not going to be well informed and be able to do what's going on. So thinking a little bit more of those styles, we talked about the feelers, the intuitors. If you are the kind of person that's creative, then you're going to be able to add a lot of creativity to what's going on. So you're going to look at the different people that are on your team. You're going to look at what they bring to the table as an individual because of their personality. And this is really where it helps if you've gone through that activity where you have done something with personality styles with the people. And then some of those activities will have people break out into all of the people who are the feelers are going to go here together, and all of the people who are the thinkers are going to go here together. And when you look around at the other individuals that are now in your little subgroup, you can identify that, you know what? Yes, I am very similar to this particular person's personality type. So by bringing all of those different things together, you have a rainbow, really, right? A rainbow that makes a beautiful picture. And so when you are on the team, some of the things that are going to make you a good team member are people who are willing to listen to what other people have to say, right? So when you're listening, you're not just thinking in your mind of how you're going to respond to what somebody's saying just to kind of one-up them. I don't know, have you ever experienced that? Where you're doing work with other people and you're sharing your idea, and then all of a sudden somebody else has to say how what they did was better than what you did, or similar, you know, on that same kind of track. So you have to be what's called an active listener, and that means you're really listening to what the person is saying and absorbing it before you're responding back to them. You have to also be a little bit willing to accept people from where they are coming from. You don't necessarily know what's going on in a person's life. And so sometimes you have somebody oh boy, oh boy. Try it again. I'm not sure if you're hearing me. Let's see, can we find out, are you able to hear me and see? If you could type in your chat box that you're able to see or hear. I'm not seeing a thing. Does it? Oh. I'm not even seeing anything. And now this is saying the internet connection is unstable. Try to. Okay, maybe you can hear me now because it looks like I'm unmuted again.
I would say that.
Okay. It is, yep. Yeah. I don't even know if I'm connected because I sent messages out, but I don't know. I think. Oh. Oh my goodness.